Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that we're going to be listening to, it comes from a translation of a message that I received. The message reads like this. Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? I am a young woman and I grew up in a family. I can say that my family didn't have a lot of money, so they are just struggling. And I am doing a certain course at this Polytechnical College. It is here in Harare. So when I started this college life, I then met this other friend, but she came from a wealthy family, like really wealthy family, and they are spoiled in that family. So when I started being friends with this young lady from the same college, that was when I started to change my habit. And my parents, they could not control me at all, because the places that this friend of mine will take me to, there were a lot of blessers that were always hanging around. I ended up dating this other blesser. When I started sleeping around with all of these men, I could not be controlled, because I saw myself as an adult, as a woman who had came of age. And whenever my mom would try to discipline me, then I'll actually tell her that I am actually an adult. I do not want to listen to all of her life lessons that she was trying to give to me. It even reached a point whereby my mom asked me one day if indeed I was really her daughter who came out of her womb. She said that maybe when I was in hospital after I had given birth to you, maybe there was a nurse who changed you, because why can't you just obey me? I then said that this is just too much. My parents, they are just giving me a lot of stress. I then spoke with this sugar daddy that I was dating, and I told him that my parents, they were giving me a lot of problems, and they are the ones that are causing me not to be able to concentrate on our relationship. That was when that blesser said, you can come, my love, come so that we can stay together. When I ran away from home, I then went and I started staying with my sugar daddy. Life was really good, but Brother Nashi, all of a sudden, this guy, he changed. He was now a violent man. He started beating me up, and the way that he would treat me, he would mistreat me, and he showed me that he didn't love me. When I saw that this guy, he had no love for me anymore, I chose to walk away. I then returned back home, but when I returned back home with everything that happened, I then said, let me just be a child that is obedient to her parents. But this did not last for a very long time, because my behavior was already messed up. I was acting as if I came from a wealthy family. That was when I started to date another sugar daddy. I met this sugar daddy when I was going to school, but our relationship did not last that long. I then started dating another blesser as well. I was changing this man as if I was changing my underwears. Each and every day I was dating another blesser. I was attracting them with this other spiritual force, which I didn't even know where it was coming from. Then there was this other day when this blesser told me that I was supposed to come to his house, because this man, he was not a married man, so he wanted some good time to me. So he said that he wanted to give me some good time. So I went over to his house for a sleepover. When I was there, Brother Nashi, that was the first time that I ever saw him naked. We used to kiss and touch each other, like that romance that we would give each other in his big car. But what would surprise me is that when I would try to kiss him all over, the guy will always stop me. He was a well-reserved man, but whenever I would touch him around the stomach area, I would feel that there was something that was tied around his stomach. And then when we were sleeping together at his house, that was when I realized that this guy, indeed, he had this other bandage that was on his stomach. It was wrapped around his stomach as well as the back area. Then we made love, Brother Nashi, like no man's business. I was really tired. This man, he made love to me without rest for hours and hours. So I was really tired, and my private parts, they were like really painful because of the way that he had slept with me without giving me any rest at all. I then fell asleep, but I woke up because I was feeling that my private part, it was just too much. This blesser, the way that he had worked me, he had given me overdose love. I woke up, Brother Nashi. When I woke up, that was when I turned around. When I looked at the old man that was sleeping next to me, my blesser, I then saw that for the first time, this bandage of his, it was untied. When I properly looked, Brother Nashi, since he was facing the other way, I then saw that this man, he had a fresh wound that was on his back, and there were actually worms that were crawling in and out of that fresh wound that was on his back. So I woke him up and I said, what are these worms doing on your body, and why do you have such a deep fresh wound? Because the way that this wound is really deep, you can never expect anyone to be able to live, because these worms, they were quite a lot. They were moving in and out of his body. Brother Nash, when I spoke with him, he then said that a wound, I don't have any wound at all. I then opened the blankets and I said, can you see these worms? These worms, I saw them falling out of your wound. Please do not try to deny. When he saw that he could not deny this time around, that was when he said, let me tell you my story, and this is my story. I am going to tell you nothing but the truth. He then said that there was a time when he had traveled all the way to Mozambique, and at that time when he went to Mozambique, it was because his business had really fallen down. So when he went to Mozambique to that traditional healer, he was then told that this business of his, the way that it had fallen down, he was getting broke, he was going to go broke, and there was no one who was going to assist him. He was the only one who could assist himself. He asked the traditional healer, how was this possible? He was then told that he had to sacrifice his own wife, for the blood of his wife was required by the shrine of that traditional healer. But this man then said that he didn't know that his wife's relatives, after he had sacrificed his wife, the wife's relatives, what they did after the burial is that they then visited another traditional healer, and this traditional healer gave them some seeds. They went in secret and they planted these sorghum seeds. And so what happened is that these sorghum seeds, they were going to raise up the spirit of his dead wife. And the way that these sorghum seeds raise up the spirit of his dead wife is that whenever it is raining season, these seeds, they will sprout, and then the sorghum will start to grow. When the sorghum is growing, that is when the spirit of his late wife will start to rise up from the dead. Then the spirit of the wife will come and will start to attack this blesser. When he saw that this is what was now happening to him, he then decided to go back to that traditional healer, who then told him that another sacrifice is now required, and he had to sacrifice one part of his body so that the spirit of his late wife will not come and attack him. Because he told me that for years and years, whenever the sorghum will be growing, then the wife's spirit will come and will be beating him up throughout the night, and he was growing tired of the way that he was receiving those spiritual attacks. That traditional healer gave him another plan. The healer then said that if your wife sees that you are suffering after you have sacrificed a part of your body, then your wife's spirit will not beat you up. So that was when that traditional healer placed a charm on his back. This charm acted as if it was some acid, and it started eating up his flesh. Then that traditional healer inserted those worms into his back. So each and every time, whenever the sorghum will be growing, then that wound will actually be growing as well. Then those worms will be eating up his body. Then this blesser said, come, let me show you something. Since I have already told you everything. We then went out of his main house. We then went to this other beautiful cottage where his guests stay when they are visiting him. We entered that cottage and we saw that there was a nice bedroom, and I saw that there was a very beautiful bedroom in that guest house cottage. And when we entered into the bedroom, I saw that there was a coffin. This coffin, Brother Nashi, it was full of worms, and said that those worms that you saw as they were going in and out of that wound that is on my back, these worms, they stay in this coffin whenever it is during the night time when the sun has set. Then those worms will get out of the coffin and they will make their way to the main house where they will start to eat up his flesh. Then when the sun is about to rise up, then they will return back to the cottage and they will get into that coffin. He said that all of these things, he does it so that when the spirit of his wife will come to him, whenever this spirit will find out that this wound have dried up, then the vengeful spirit of his wife will beat him up. So this wound, it has to remain fresh at all the times so that the spirit cannot revenge him twice. So Blesser then told me that some of his rituals is that he has two of his brothers that are running mad. He made these brothers of his to run mad so that his businesses can succeed. This man, he has two trucks. These trucks, they go and they collect their loads there in Durban. Most of the time, these loads, they will be coming to Harare or they will be delivered in Zambia. So he told me that he had this brother of his who was a professional, who was working as an accountant. So when he returned back to Mozambique for more rituals, he stole their brains, their thinking capacity, so that they can just be mentally ill. When his brother, who was an accountant, was in his office, that was when he started to run mad. When he was running mad, he then ran out of the office and he continued walking. He walked from Harare all the way to South Africa. Now he is running mad in South Africa. So the way that these brothers of his works is that when the truck is on its way going to South Africa to Durban, once it has crossed the border into South Africa, his brother, the one who is just walking around South Africa running mad, then it will be like he will be activated. The moment that you will be running on the N1 without stopping, this man, he will actually be protecting one of the trucks so that it won't be hijacked or it won't lose the loads or to have an accident. Once that truck will be making its way back to Zim, this brother of his, as he will be running mad in South Africa, will be following any main way that leads back to Zim. And once this truck has crossed the border, then his other brother, the other one whom he uses again for the rituals, then the brother will start to run mad. Then the other brother who will be left in South Africa will be normal until the truck will return back to South Africa. This is what these brothers of his do, because this is how he is using both of his brothers. One is running mad here in Zim, always following the main road that comes from South Africa, just walking up and down without getting any rest at all, because they will be protecting these trucks as they will be moving on the main road. This has been happening, he said, for a very long time. After I had seen all of these things, he then said that it is not safe for you because you now know my darkest secret. We need to return back to Mozambique. So me and him, we went to Mozambique, Brother Nashi. When we went to Mozambique, that was when I was told that I need to have my own tokology that is going to protect me. And for me to have this protection, I have to sacrifice one amongst my sisters so that I can start making money like he is making his own money. Dear listeners, right there was a message that I received. It was sent to me by our dear sister. She's saying that the things that I saw, I do not even wish that my enemies can see a tokology. I saw some dark, evil stuff, and I need to do these rituals, otherwise I will lose my own life. Yo,